What's going on, YouTube? My name is Chad. This is the Wisco Boater channel. Welcome back to another episode of the Bosun 11 project. Today, I'm going to start working on frame number 1. I got my tracing paper, so I'm going to begin taking the drawings, tracing them onto the board here. But first, I need to cut out each individual piece at the correct length. I'm going to get the circular saw out, cut each one out, and then I'll start tracing the pieces. You can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces make up half of the frame. This piece here actually extends to the other side, so that piece will go on the other side. So I'll have in total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces in frame number 1. The longest piece is 2 feet long. The shortest piece is 1 foot long. So this is an 8-foot board. I should be able to get all the pieces. Nope, I'm gonna have to use 2 boards. But anyway, I'll get them cut to length first, and then I'll rip the correct width, and then I'll start tracing. Well, I didn't get as much of a chance to work on the project yesterday as I'd hoped, so another day has gone by, but I've got all the boards for the first frame cut and ripped. So we've got 2 and 3/8 inch pieces here. There's a 3 inch, those are 3 inch. And then these 2 over here, the side pieces are 2 and 3/8. So what I have to do now is get a piece of carbon tracing paper, cut out, and because these are 26 by 42 inch sheets, and using a full sheet is going to be a little bit unwieldy. So I will cut a piece of carbon transfer paper out, put the board down on the bench, put the piece of tracing paper down, and then the plans on top, and trace out the lines to be cut. Sounds pretty easy. We'll see. Okay, I got a piece of carbon paper cut out here. This piece will probably last this entire frame. So then I'll take the set of plans, move the board out a little bit. And I'll match up the edges of the board . This way a little bit. Once you're happy with where the lines match up to the edges of the board, you can feel it just by running your fingers down it, making sure it matches up all the way, and you've got enough at the end here and enough at this end. So once I have that, tack it down. Just re-verify, we got an edge. Slide it this way a little bit. Good edge. Got a good edge. Got a good edge there. So now I'll throw a tack in it. Okay, so now the paper can't move, and now all I have to do is draw out the lines. So we're just transferring the lines from the plans directly onto the wood. Don't need to worry about the sidelines because the board is already cut to size or ripped to size. All right, so what I did here was I traced this line here, this line to the edge, that line, that line, that line's the edge of the board, that line's the edge of the board. And then come down here, notch, made that notch, and then this line right here. The dotted line means that the board is on the underside of this joint piece, so the joint goes on top of the side piece right here. So that's not a line that I need to trace. That's actually this piece here. So I'll lift the tracing paper off and I'll show you what we got. An exact replica of the drawing onto the board. Get the jigsaw out, cut out the notches, cut off that end piece, and I gotta figure out which one of, I think only this one gets cut right now. I think, so I'll double check that, but definitely this notch here gets cut, and then after everything's put together on the floor upside down, then this actually gets cut off all the way across here, and that's a temporary strut. So that's how that works. Got all the pieces traced out using the carbon tracing paper. One thing I do want to point out is that this piece here is the bottom, the very bottom piece of frame number 1. So since the frame drawings are just shown as one side, I actually turned the plans over. Made a little notch in the plans here, which is the center line. That way I could match up the center line on the board. Just put the tracing paper right on the edge there, right on the line. So the center line was true to the drawing. And then you can see the lines through the paper. So then I just trace with my pencil onto the board so I have a symmetrical piece there. So now I get to go have fun with the jigsaw. So there we have the rough cut member pieces of the first frame. So now what I'll do is clamp these together, and then we'll sand them at the same time. Make sure we got the exact same piece on both sides. They're pretty darn close though. Let's see. Look pretty good. Pretty close. yeah, everything came out kind of pretty nice. So a little bit of sanding and be time to throw these things together. Used a variety of tools, from the belt sander to the palm sander to just a handheld sander, and I got the first pieces, the joints here, perfectly shaped to one another. I just got to repeat the process on all the other pieces, and then I don't know, maybe put this thing together today. All parts have been sanded and basically finished. This part is actually way more annoying than I thought it would be. Every time you move something, something else moves. So there's 4 pieces in play here, and I'm scratching my head here trying to figure out how to get everything to stay in place. So I need to drill holes for screws before I mix up epoxy or mix up resin to fasten everything. But every time I move like that piece, this piece moves. Every time I move that piece moves. And it's just really frustrating. So I'm not recording this part just because there's lots of swearing going on, and try to keep this channel fairly family friendly. So I'll come back after I get holes drilled. How about that? Okay, halfway point update here. Actually, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. With nothing in place, or no fasteners in place, everything moves, of course. But once you just start working one piece at a time, so I started with the side support here, this joint, got those 2 screws in place, then moved to this joint and the bottom side piece, and then so on. So not too bad. I'm gonna flip the drawing over and work on the other half. Should work out okay, I think. Got everything screwed together at this point. So lay down some wax paper on the floor here, take everything apart, mix up some resin, and then spread it on, screw it back together. After it's all together, then I'll start matching up the little notches and stuff. You can see that they don't line up perfectly. They're pretty close, but they're not perfect. But I will take care of that when it's all set up and glued in place. So I guess it's time to mix up some epoxy. Everything's taken apart again. Got 4 pieces there, 3 pieces there. Wax paper's in place. So I'm gonna mix up some resin, paint it on. I'm gonna paint the resin on these 3 pieces here, on the back sides, and then put them in place and screw them in with screws, and then let it sit overnight. Well, like most things when it comes to boat building, this ended up being a little bit easier than I anticipated it would be, just going off of the way I felt when I was first laying out the frame members. But it's all epoxied and screwed in place, so I will let this sit overnight with the heater running for a little while. And I'll come back tomorrow, take a look at it, and we'll wrap this episode up on frame number 1. Okay, we can almost wrap up this video. First frame is all cured up. All I'm going to do, take this outside, sand off the unevenness between the 2 pieces here, and call it good. The channels here for stringers, I'll probably just leave those alone for now, and if they need to be adjusted when it's time to put stringers in, I'll take care of it at that point. But let's turn it around, I'll show you the other side. So this side, you can't see screws at all. Won't see screws anyway. These are about a 1/16 of an inch below the surface of the wood. So those will get some filler before fiberglass, or before resin goes over the top of those. So you won't see them anyway. take this outside, get it sanded, and we'll finish this one up. Got the sanding done. Everything's nice and smooth. And everything matches up. So this is a good place to call it quits on this video. Like I said, where the well, stringers, stiffeners, chines, where they go, I'll clean those up later when I have the frames mounted on the floor and know exactly how much space I'm gonna need there. So, but everything else looks really good. So frame number 1 is done and came out great. Pretty happy with it. So it's on to frame 2. Thanks for watching this video, everybody. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, send me some comments. As usual, we'll see you next time on the Wisco Boater channel, and happy boating.